6. From ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Sitting in tonight, Diane Sawyer.
Good evening. We begin tonight with politics, the Persian Gulf, and the administration's effort to keep them separate. After a long holiday recess, Congress is coming back to town. It resumes business tomorrow. Voices questioning Mr. Bush's policies in the Gulf are being heard from again. As ABC's Ann Compton reports, the president will meet with congressional leaders tomorrow morning. And while he's willing to hear their advice, he doesn't feel he needs their consent.
President Bush will not ask Congress for any vote of support for military action in the Gulf. One reason, he said in an interview to be broadcast tonight, is he's certain he does not need it.
We've used military force 200 times in history, and I think there have been 5 declarations of war. Having said that, I want the support of the Congress. I want Congress on board.
But not all members of Congress are on board. While the leadership generally supports his policy in the Gulf so far, some other members fear the next step could be trouble. Several are prepared to introduce resolutions tomorrow in both the House and Senate, demanding that any military strike against Iraq first get the clear authorization of Congress. The president's critics are gathering evidence to drive their point home. Senator Edward Kennedy produced a letter stating the opinion of 127 constitutional scholars.
President Bush has no authority and no right to unilaterally waive this bedrock requirement of the Constitution and our democracy.
In these last 2 weeks before the UN deadline, the Bush administration wants Saddam Hussein to hear only one voice from Washington. Tonight, top aides say that President Bush will tell the congressional leaders if he can't have a clear vote of confidence from Congress, he'd rather have no vote at all. Ann Compton, ABC News, the White House.
Just what that one voice will say in the next few weeks is very much the subject of discussion at the White House. Here's our national security correspondent, John McWethy.
Secretary Baker spent much of his day at the White House working on strategy with the president for what comes next. Baker is expected to travel to the Persian Gulf and Europe next week. His mission to tell the coalition partners that the U.S. really does plan to go to war if Iraq fails to withdraw by mid-January. Baker will be looking for support. The U.S. got a boost today when NATO voted for the first time to move 40 combat aircraft to defend against the Iraqi threat to Turkey, a member of NATO. Some of those planes going to Turkey will be German, the first time that country has moved any military equipment outside its borders to respond to the Gulf crisis.
This action is another firm signal of Western resolve and solidarity in response to a clear threat to the security of a member country.
In preparation for U.S. military action, officials say it is likely the Bush administration will order the evacuation of its embassy in Baghdad just before the January 15th deadline, urging all Americans, including journalists, to get out of Iraq. While the planning continues, time is running out for Baker to actually visit Baghdad.
We propose 15 days for meetings, and the Iraqis have not given us any meaningful response to that.
Even though tomorrow is the last of those 15 days, U.S. officials say the president is willing to have Baker visit Baghdad later, as long as it is at least a week before the January 15th deadline. John McWethy, ABC News, the State Department.
Other diplomatic moves underway. The foreign ministers of Syria and Libya met with Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. Libya is said to want another Arab summit meeting. Mr. Mubarak doesn't. And Jordan's King Hussein arrived in London in yet another effort at mediation. He's expected to go on to Paris, Rome, and Bonn. In Saudi Arabia today, the U.S. military command says Iraq still shows no signs of withdrawing from Kuwait, and its troop strength has remained steady at 510,000. Meanwhile, U.S. strength continues to grow. A naval task force of 13 ships with 7,500 Marines on board sailed for the Gulf from the Philippines today. And just behind it, another battle group led by the aircraft carrier USS Ranger. In Saudi Arabia, ABC's Bob Zelnick reports that while U.S. officials believe the Iraqi buildup is reaching its limit, the Allied buildup is not.
Tanks, armored personnel carriers, and other weapons continue arriving in Saudi Arabia. Convoys hauling military equipment north clog the roads. Much of the material will be used by troops scheduled to arrive from Germany and the U.S. during the next 2 weeks. By then, the U.S. will have well over 300,000 ground forces in the country and a total of nearly 450,000 in the area. As the U.S. grows stronger, military planners see no way Iraq can keep pace. In a briefing today, they were asked about reports that Iraq intends to create new divisions of its Republican Guard troops and send them into the Kuwait theater.
The Republican Guards are their elite forces, well-trained, well-equipped with the T-72 tanks. Whether they can conscript forces and train them to that capability, it would be very difficult.
Privately, U.S. military analysts here say that while Iraq can make its army bigger, it cannot materially increase its fighting ability. The embargo and blockade make it nearly impossible for the Iraqis to replace existing spare parts for equipment, let alone obtain new weapons. And without additional weapons, new Iraqi forces are, in the view of the U.S. military, of little value. Many U.S. military officials believe that by exercising night and day, the U.S. can force Iraqi troops to maintain a high level of alert. This, they hope, will further tax their equipment, adding to the U.S. advantage if and when an order to attack comes. Bob Zelnick, ABC News, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia.
An effort by Saddam Hussein today to boost the morale of his troops. Iraq announced that draftees and members of the reserve will get an extra $160 a month in bonus pay. For some of these men, that's a 200% pay raise. When we come back, angry bank customers in Rhode Island unable to get their money. On the American agenda, making millions from the drug AZT. How did Burroughs Wellcome get the patent? And beauty where you least expect to find it.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings. Brought to you by Whole Wheat Total.
Hey, Judy.
Yeah?
Ounce for ounce, can you mix a bowl of cereal with more vitamin and mineral nutrition than Total?
Sure.
Well, have fun. That's great, but you need more calcium and iron.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You know, Judy,
Yeah.
a bowl of all those put together can't top an equal amount of Total. One serving of whole grain Total has 100% of 12 vitamins and minerals. Seriously, for all this nutrition, nothing can top Total.
Well, sounds like I've got a problem.
This is the sound of Unisom, the sound of sleep. With Unisom, you hit your pillow and fall asleep fast. Tonight, you can sleep more soundly with Unisom, America's #1 sleep aid.
Bengay welcomes back all those people who tried one of those other pain relief rubs, but found for them nothing works better than Bengay. It warms away pain with 2 pain relievers, not just 1. Welcome back to Bengay, America's best-selling pain relief rub.
In Rhode Island today, there was nothing automatic about making a withdrawal from your bank. More than half of the state's banks and credit unions were closed so that state and federal officials could sort out how to deal with the collapse of the state fund that insures their depositors. ABC's Bob Jameson is in Providence.
Depositors lined up before dawn outside automatic teller machines, hoping to salvage something from their accounts. But the money had already been frozen.
Now I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. I mean, I need food in my house, you know. What am I going to do?
By morning, state police had taken up positions at each of the 45 banks and credit unions with a total of 300,000 accounts and $1.7 billion on deposit. Depositors weren't permitted to touch any account, checking or savings. Even Visa and MasterCards issued by the banks were no longer valid. After reading the emergency notice, depositors reacted more in bewilderment than in anger.
I'm expecting a baby, and it's gonna be difficult, you know, to pay Blue Cross and to pay rent and to pay everything else that I have to pay.
It's a shame. I don't know what I'm gonna do now.
Rhode Island's emergency is largely unrelated to the growing problems of America's banking industry as a whole. These state-chartered banks did not fail. The private insurance fund protecting their deposits did. Most of the money in the Rhode Island Share and Deposit Indemnity Corporation had been used last month to pay off creditors of Heritage Loan of Providence. Heritage failed, authorities say, when its president, Joseph Malacone, disappeared with $13 million of depositors' money. Governor Bruce Sunland defended his action as the only way to protect the suddenly uninsured depositors.
And that if any loss had occurred at that time, they would have been totally exposed and totally at loss.
Sunland said 7 credit unions had qualified for federal insurance and would reopen Monday. But there are no plans for the state to bail out those that do not qualify. And a dozen banks and credit unions are believed in jeopardy and may never reopen. Bob Jameson, ABC News, Providence.
The administration changed its tune on the economy today. Michael Boskin, President Bush's chief economic advisor, stopped dancing around the word and said a recession has probably begun. But in an effort to put the best face on it, he also said the worst may already be over. 2 weeks after the Federal Reserve cut its discount rate, several of the nation's major banks fell into step today. They cut their prime rate 0.5% to 9.5%. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrials opened the year with a loss, down 23 points, to close at 2610. The trading was slow. When we come back, whether to stop some young athletes from playing with their lives.
To get rid of her gray, my wife can spend 40 minutes. But I discovered this 5-minute hair coloring.
The revolutionary discovery called Just for Men from the leader in men's hair coloring. Simply apply Just for Men and in 5 minutes shampoo out.
Gray is blended away. The look of my natural color is back in 5 minutes. That was me, and it won't fade or wash out.
My hair takes forever, but you look great in just 5 minutes.
The look of your natural color in just 5 minutes with Just for Men.
Buongiorno. I love being in Italy. It reminds me so much of the old USA. With the deluxe bowling alleys, the high-rises, even drive-through restaurants. I myself am enjoying one of the true specialties of Italian cuisine, the New York strip. Perfecto. Well, as they say in Italian, ciao. Beef, real food in Little Italy, New York.
Hey, well, I took a cold pill. It's already take contact with 600 tiny time pills that last up to 12 hours. Finito. Contact saved the day. Thunder.
There's a whole day's work in every contact.
Make me rich fast, you say? $10 million rich? Just weeks from now? That's when I'll hand over American Family's next $10 million prize. So enter the only sweepstakes with my picture today.
There was a split decision today on the question which college football team is the national champion. The Associated Press poll of sports writers and broadcasters picked the University of Colorado as the #1 team in the country. But the UPI poll of college coaches put Georgia Tech in first place. For some young athletes, it's not a matter of championships, but of playing it all. While some students may not like it, increasingly schools are deciding to play it safe when it comes to the question of a player's health. Here's ABC's Dick Schaap.
Ron Copeland has his heart set on competing in the Olympic Games. Stephen Larkin says sports is his life. They are fierce competitors from athletic families, but neither of them competed last fall. Why not? Because Hank Gathers was a fierce competitor too. And when Gathers collapsed on court and died early last year, it was a nightmare no one wants to see repeated. Schools don't want to go through the anguish. Schools don't want to go through the lawsuits. Stephen Larkin, a gifted running back whose brother Barry plays for the Cincinnati Reds, was denied the medical clearance that is required to play football at Moeller High School in Cincinnati. The reason? He has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a thickening of the heart muscle. And Ron Copeland, a talented hurdler whose father was a star hurdler and football player for UCLA, was denied the medical clearance that is required to run track at the University of Southern California. The reason? Family medical history. Medical tests reveal no evidence that Copeland has heart disease or damage, but his father and his brother both died young of cardiac arrest following athletic exertion. Larkin and Copeland both want desperately to compete.
I must do what makes me happy, and at this particular time, it's running. Everybody takes a risk when they're playing. You know, I mean, I could die, from a head injury.
Stephen's parents wanted him to be allowed to play football.
Of course, there's trepidation and concern, but because I know how desperately he wants to play, then I push those feelings to the back.
But Ron Copeland's mother...
She would prefer for me not to compete because I can understand where she's coming from, losing a son and losing a husband to athletics.
They are so young, these athletes. They look so healthy, they find it hard to believe they are mortal. They are vulnerable. Tony Penny, for instance, wasn't afraid of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, the same condition that threatens Stephen Larkin. But Dr. Milton Sands refused Penny medical permission to play at Central Connecticut. Dr. Sands understood Penny's bitter reaction.
You've hurt them mentally as you're trying to help them physically.
Penny went to England to play professionally. During a game, he died.
Even though I tried, I let him down because he died. And I'm not happy about that.
Stephen Larkin and Ron Copeland could compete and never have a problem. They could become stars. But is it worth the risk? Dick Schaap, ABC News.
In Ohio and Indiana today, the rain stopped. The flooding didn't. A week of rain and a weekend of melting snow continue to send rivers over their banks. In many areas, the flood crests aren't expected until Friday. Washington, D.C. has a new mayor. Sharon Pratt Dixon was sworn in today and pledged to give the people an honest deal. She succeeds Marion Barry, who faces 6 months in prison for possession of cocaine. When we return, the American agenda. Questions about an AIDS drug and money.
He's trying to go further than he's ever gone before. Now there's a special opportunity for you to help him. To support the athletes of the 1991 Special Olympics Games, look inside your Publishers Clearinghouse mail. For every one of these valuable coupons you redeem by January 20th, Procter & Gamble will contribute 10 cents to Special Olympics. It's a special savings for you. And it's a chance to help some special athletes go as far as they can.
Well, I thought college kids didn't need sleep. You need coffee.
I got that.
Freeze-dried? Welcome to Coffee 101. See, mine's darker. It's decaffeinated Folgers crystals from mountain-grown beans.
My classes ended yesterday.
Mine's still darker. Taste.
This is good.
Now you're talking.
Hey, I am, aren't I?
Decaffeinated Folgers crystals, so dark and rich. Shouldn't you switch?
How far do you think it is? Oh, about 140 miles. And there ain't a thing out there.
Reliability isn't a sticker you put on the windshield. It's something you darn well better design in from the start.
This is far. This is forever.
You know, we're not selling these cars to mechanics. It could be someone like your mother, and they just gotta know they won't be left sitting somewhere by the side of the road.
I mean, that's the way I would want it if I was a customer.
Hey, look at this. Civilization. Sort of.
Hey, Extra Strength Maalox Plus just won a nationwide taste test.
That's no surprise. Maalox has come out with great tasting flavors.
Our cherry cream, mint cream, and lemon Swiss cream flavors beat the other leading liquid antacids on taste.
That's logical. Maalox has very smooth tastes.
So when do you take the strongest and best tasting antacid?
For all your Maalox moments.
Look for the coupon in Sunday's paper.
On the American agenda tonight, the one drug that has government approval as a treatment for AIDS and the one company that is making millions from it. The drug is AZT. The company is Burroughs Wellcome. AZT is enormously expensive, as much as $3,500 per person for 1 year's supply. The question is, how did a single private company get exclusive rights to such a crucial and profitable drug? Tonight's agenda reporter is George Strait.
Joe Franco depends on this drug to stay alive. It is AZT, and for 3 years it has helped him fight off the effects of the AIDS virus. But that fight has been expensive.
I don't like to say I have AIDS. I like to say that AIDS has me. It also has you in a way that you don't know because you're paying for my medication.
AZT is so expensive and so vital that the government has had to pay most of the costs to keep patients alive. Overall, taxpayers have paid an estimated $420 million of the $700 million spent to buy AZT. And all of the money ends up here at the Burroughs Wellcome Company. It has the legal monopoly on selling AZT, primarily because it has the patent.
The world would not have AZT, Retrovir, if it were not for Burroughs Wellcome Company.
But many disagree. Even though protests like this forced the company to lower the price of AZT, many question the company's exclusive right to control that price.
What did you discover? What did you invent? What we discovered was that this was a potentially useful drug in patients with HIV infection. That's your invention? That is correct. And where was that published? That was published in a variety of publications. Name me one or two. Well, I don't have them right in front of me.
In fact, this compound was not discovered by Burroughs Wellcome. Government scientists invented AZT and were the first to test it in humans.
This drug was developed here, of course, in 1964.
Dr. Jerome Horowitz is the man who invented AZT 26 years ago at the old Michigan Cancer Institute in Detroit. He abandoned the drug when it proved ineffective against the disease he was studying, cancer. 10 years later in Germany, the next crucial discovery. Dr. Wolfram Ostertag showed AZT was effective in killing retroviruses, rare organisms that scientists would later determine to be the cause of AIDS. And finally, in 1985, Drs. Sam Broda and Mitch Mitsuya of the National Cancer Institute, using a unique test that they discovered, showed for the first time that AZT stopped the human AIDS virus from multiplying.
People have to realize, the tremendous contribution that the government scientists made to this thing. So they essentially then took a drug from the public domain, which had no medical use, and made it a practical reality as a therapy for AIDS.
In fact, back in 1984, government scientists, without ever questioning who would profit, were collaborating with several private companies, including Burroughs Wellcome. Burroughs sent more than a dozen compounds here to Dr. Broder's laboratory, chemicals it hoped would work against the AIDS virus. AZT was one of them. Dr. Broder had to do the testing because Burroughs refused to risk working with the live AIDS virus in its own laboratories. Within 2 weeks, success. Dr. Broder wrote, "The results look quite promising." 3 weeks later, Burroughs applied for a patent in Britain. No American government scientist was given any credit. And 6 months later, Burroughs applied for a U.S. patent, again claiming all the credit for itself. But that application was rejected for insufficient data. Burroughs reapplied, included Dr. Broder's data, and the patent was eventually accepted. At the time, Dr. Broder expressed his pride in the work of government scientists.
Basically, AZT is a demonstrable product of the viral cancer program of the National Cancer Institute in an area where there has been a great deal of research.
That was almost 5 years ago. Now Dr. Broder's pride is turned to private anger. He believes Burroughs has rewritten history to protect its patent and control over the price of AZT. He cannot speak publicly because the NIH is considering a number of options, including suing Burroughs Wellcome. In fact, a number of private attorneys have advised the government that such a suit would be successful.
If the government had been a co-inventor, then the government would have been able to call the tune in terms of pricing. We paid to invent it, and now we pay to buy it back. It's sort of the healthcare version of the savings and loan scandal.
Unless a better treatment is found, Burroughs' profits will continue to grow with the increasing number of AIDS patients who need AZT. And unless someone succeeds in challenging the Burroughs Wellcome patent, those profits and its exclusive control over the price of AZT will last into the next century. George Strait, ABC News, Washington.
Tomorrow on the American agenda, 2 companies that are challenging the Burroughs Wellcome patent by manufacturing AZT themselves and selling it at a lower price. We'll have our final story in a moment.
One day there was just too much gray. I thought, should I or shouldn't I? I didn't. I was afraid it might look phony. I wanted natural looking color, and I wanted to do it right, with no pouring and mixing. Nobody else could give me what I wanted until Clairol Option Instant for Men. I figured if it's from Clairol, I could trust it. I could. I went from gray to my natural looking color in 5 easy minutes. My hair looks great, feels great. When I look in the mirror, I don't see gray. I see me.
Do it right with Option, also in gradual formula.
Most credit cards advance you cash, but then immediately take interest back and keep on taking it. But now you can get cash interest-free with your Discover card. Just pay your balance every month, and for a small transaction fee, we'll give you the cash interest-free. So take it from us, instead of giving it to them. It pays to Discover.
Grandma cleaned her dentures with toothpaste. Mom used a soak. I use the denture cleanser of the 90s. Fast-acting Denture Foam. Deep cleans like tablets, fast like toothpaste. To loosen food stains so you can quickly brush dentures clean. Get new Denture Foam. It deep cleans fast.
When it's cold and rough outside, try something warm and creamy inside. Cream of wheat hot cereal or instant cream of wheat. two warm, delicious ways to come in from the cold.
Tonight on Nightline, as the January 15th deadline approaches, foreign diplomatic maneuvers shift into high gear. Is it too little, too late? Tonight.
Finally tonight, pleasure where you certainly don't expect to find it. As far as we know, nobody ever decided to spend a free afternoon in serene contemplation of the subway. Grouchy commuters are hardly candidates for art appreciation. Or are they? Here's ABC's John Martin.
For years, this almost passed for art in the subways of New York. Graffiti.
That doesn't look like art to me. I think it'd be a lot nicer if it was not there.
Today, much of it no longer is there. In its place, nearly 20 works of art. Subway art. In Brooklyn, the tiled mosaic of a passageway. A glazed skylight. Under Wall Street, a 42-foot mural. Public art created with more than $1 million of public funds and private donations. The idea has been spreading. In Washington, subway riders get glimpses of 6 painted banners in a major station near the White House. A streak of neon yellow on the far wall of another station. Even a parody of subway traffic called Penguin Rush Hour, where Penguin commuters buy the tickets, pass through the turnstiles, board the trains, and read their newspapers. With new commissions, artists are showing off their work and thinking big.
I'm hoping to reach 1 million or more people.
If they're paying attention, that is. Some are not, because the art is often installed out of the way, tacked onto space available after the system was built. But in Seattle, down below its hilly streets, an underground bus system has just opened with all 5 stations designed by artists, working with architects and engineers.
I was bending the concrete. Engineer came by and said, "You can't do that." I said, "Yeah, I know, I can, but you can."
So they did. They built a waterfall in this station. They did a lot of things to attract riders fearful of grime and crime.
We're trying to invite people. We're trying to make these spaces friendly so that it uplifts the people in their day-to-day use of the city.
So they created bright murals filled with pop art figures. They installed ceramic tiles. They programmed electronic pictographs. They even chiseled poems into the stairs. If you follow the beaten path, this one reads, life becomes somewhat monotonous. The observation of a Seattle professor, one of 16 people whose words lead to their silhouettes sitting at the top of the stairs. So if the price of oil continues to go up and more Americans decide to go down to their buses and trains, they should know that some people are trying to make the beaten path a lot less monotonous. John Martin, ABC News, Washington.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Diane Sawyer. Have a good evening and a good night.
And now, the news continues with Channel 2 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Bob Mueller.
And I'm Cindy Benson. Making news tonight, a Middle Tennessee grandmother is missing, and both her family and authorities fear for her safety. June Atkins disappeared Sunday, shortly after leaving her home to visit her widowed mother in Dover, Tennessee. As Channel 2's Jim Melchiori tells us, investigators have found one clue which has raised suspicions of foul play.
Like most infants, Scott Angus is the little star of his family. When the 5-month-old baby boy is not with his mom, Sherry, he's usually with his grandma.
Yeah, she definitely, thinks a lot of Scott, and, she comes up normally about twice or 3 times during the week to see him and everything. So, no, I don't think she would run off.
June Atkins vanished last weekend. The 41-year-old mother of 2 and grandmother of 1 was last seen driving past this Dover truck stop Sunday about 1 p.m. The next day, lawmen came to this wooded area after a hunter found an abandoned car at the end of this logging road.
We started looking at it a lot more serious when we found the car, and the location of the car and the condition of the car made us feel like that there might be some indication of foul play.
All that authorities found in this car were an umbrella and an empty